Hi guys, welcome back to the D2 Talks. My name is Fabio Palvelli, and this week on this channel, Jason Bergeron had the pleasure to sit down with Jost Hauer of loomn, a visualization company based in Germany. If you like what we do on our channel, make sure you subscribe, share this video with your friends, get the conversation going, and I guess I'll see you next time.
So I'm going to start the video recording now. There's no turning back.
Right. Okay.
And hi, Jost. Good morning. How are you?
Hi, Jason. I'm fine. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Great. So I think I could introduce you, but I think it's probably better if I let you introduce yourself. So maybe give us a little background about yourself and also your company in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. My name is Jost Hauer. I'm running a company called loomn. We are doing architectural visualization, and we're focusing on competitions. We are in this wonderful town called Gütersloh. You probably never heard of, but
No.
And we are a team of 5 at the moment, and we're all architects. So I think that's the most important thing, because we're working pretty close to our clients who are doing competitions, so they are mainly architects, so there's a good way of communication.
Right.
And yeah, so that's a very short.
Yeah. And how long have you been in operation? When did you found the company? Was it just
actually, yeah, I worked in 2 companies in Zurich before,
okay.
And then we moved back to Germany because my wife got pregnant and my son was born. So that was 2013. So it's it was in 2nd February. So it's 6 years ago.
Okay, it's like almost exactly 6 years ago.
Yeah,
very close. Yeah.
Celebrated birthday last week.
Yeah. Cool. That's cool. Did you have cake?
This time, actually, we do it every year, but this time we didn't have the time.
Because that's also good, I guess.
But it's 6. 5 was a big event, so
5 is good. Yeah, 5 is better. 6 is kind of it's not so important. Number 10, you can shoot for 10. Yeah.
And we did like a 1 year. I bought like a chocolate bar and just rammed in 3 candles. So that worked.
So a very quick solution.
Yeah, we had champagne, so that was covered.
which is probably good. You know, you've learned this kind of technique from working only on competitions.
Yeah.
You have to figure out some way to do it fast.
Right.
Yeah, but I would like to ask you about that because I know from my personal experience and also from conversations with other companies that working on competitions and working with architects can sometimes be the absolute bad part of the job you're doing, and a lot of people stop even doing so much work for competitions and for architects.
Yeah.
Because it's usually they don't want to pay very much. They're unorganized a lot of times. It's coming down to the wire, and it can make you crazy. So how did you guys manage to get into that area? And I guess you like it, or you wouldn't do it like this.
Yeah, with us, it's quite the opposite. We really love it. I think it's most of all it's because of our background as architects. So we know the struggle. We know that the architects, because we I think we can understand them because they have to finish up their plans, and they're in stress, and I think we can relate to that. And for us, it's well, I'm really impressed with these guys who are spending weeks on one project and finishing up old shaders and stuff, and it looks really great. Personally, I cannot do this. I need quick projects, and I'm always I'm happy if I'm on Monday I get a new project and start over and sketch it, and then on Friday it's over, and it will never come back. I think that's a very, very good thing. So it's easier for us to arrange these things, and we know there's a definite deadline, and we don't have to redo everything after that point. So I think that's a great thing, and we really like the projects are coming with this. If we are doing like the commercial projects we're doing, it's mostly housing or retail or stuff like this, and these other projects are more I think a little bit more interesting from an architectural point. So it's
I would agree with that. Yeah, with that sentiment. About competition projects are generally a little more exciting to work on because you have to go fast. You have to come up with solutions for things which have not been figured out yet. A lot of times, which is also stressful because you sometimes are helping the architect design the building in a way.
Yeah, but actually that's the thing I like about that because we have a very close communication. So we are calling them right after we got the files, and we are discussing everything with that. And we are also we build up the models ourselves, every model. So and everyone in this at Loom is doing the whole thing. So there's one person responsible for this competition, and he's guiding the architect to the whole process. And he's building up the model in CAD. So he knows the building. You get to know the building way better if you build up the model yourself. And this helps us really to communicate with our architect. And you can make suggestions then, or they ask us for our opinion, stuff like that. And it's like we see ourselves more like part of the design team, you know. So
I totally understand.
Yeah,
I did this when I worked in an architecture office. That's what I did actually. That job. That's actually why I left in the end, because I was like, well, I can do this for more than just one guy. But this I have to say I do like that, because a lot of times you didn't. I had the feeling that they didn't come. It was a kind of an old-fashioned architect, right? Like an older guy. And so he wasn't really interested that much in the 3D stuff at all. But he realized that he could find out things very quickly about what could work or not work in certain situations. And then he liked it. He was like, okay, let's look at the model. We need to look at the model. Before that, he was like, we just draw some elevations and call it a day.
That's true.
But anyway, I did enjoy that as well. And I'm glad
all the other bigger architectural companies have their own department for visualization. So we're filling the gap, I think, for offices that don't have employees doing especially visualizations. Right? So.
And did you work as an architect before doing this? Like when you first finished university?
Actually, no, not really.
Okay.
I was working for my father-in-law. He's running an architecture company, an office, and my wife is also a partner there. And but right after my degree, my diploma, it was 2008. It was just the year of the crisis, and there were literally no jobs anywhere. So I was looking like in 2007, while I was doing my diploma, I was looking for jobs and was like on World Architects. Like there was.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
200 jobs for New York, and I said, yeah, great. And when I was finished 2008, there was nothing. Like there were like 2 interim ads for New York. So I said, oh, you're right. But in Switzerland, everything was in order. So we moved to Switzerland, and luckily I got, because I thought I was becoming a regular architect. But there was a job for a project manager for a visualization company. and there was yeah, I got the job directly, and had to manage like 20 freelancers, and was mostly doing communication to the client and managing freelancers. It was a crazy job, but
wow, 20.
yeah, it was, yeah, but it was I didn't do any 3D. I was just managing, but I really enjoyed this stuff, and then I said, okay, I have to switch. I have to do it myself, and yeah. So it was way easier than to switch to another company if you're already been there in one visualization.
Yeah, yeah. Can you tell me which company it was in Switzerland?
In Switzerland, it was Total Real. What's the name?
Total Real.
Okay. Yeah.
Total Real.
Total Real, right. But then after a year, because I really, yeah, managing is fine, but I had the feeling I have to do more, yeah, also like doing more architecture, like doing something. And so I switched to Mars with 3A.
Mars, okay. Yeah, I think I remember this, yeah.
Yeah, and then I stayed there for 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But this yeah, and that was really more like they were doing competitions, and we were responsible for all our stuff. So that was a great time.
So that's like similar how you were doing it as well.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But I like your path, because it's interesting, because a lot of people they just start doing ArcViz or their own, like on their own, before having worked in a company or something like that. And I think this maybe gave you a good base for starting your own company. The fact that you worked in another company beforehand, and you saw how saw kind of how it worked.
Yeah, but actually, I now, if I look back at my career, I now see that I didn't know what to do with my life. But if I look back now, I see I've the point where I am now is exactly the point where I should be. So like in art class back in school, there was I was always not paying attention. But then one day they showed us perspective drawing, and I was really like, wow. That's
like,
all.
Ding!
Yeah, right. And also, I always had this fascination for computers. I was also in school. I was doing like a lot of Photoshop things, just playing around, and also like you remember Duke Nukem, video game?
Yeah.
There was a level editor.
Oh yeah.
That
I
came with
that.
it. And I started to build levels for Duke Nukem, and we played them in the network, LAN.
Yeah.
Back in the days where you had to carry like
parties.
Big ride. Like, mommy, can you drive me to the LAN party? And
because I don't want to carry my computer.
Yeah. Right. But we played the maps I did in for Duke Nukem. We played them then there. And that was amazing for me, because it was I've created a space, and we all enjoyed the space. And that kind of, well, back then I thought, okay, I have to do computer games, because it was very close connection. Then when I wanted to study, I thought, okay, you like drawings, you like mathematics, you like computers, and which study has the most common or Schnittmengen, like where it all comes together. And that was architecture, and I didn't have any clue about architecture when I was in school, because my parents were teachers. There was no connection to it in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was studying, I was really I learned that that's the right thing for me. And then going further, this seeing I had when I was studying, I was always focusing really on layouts and on 3D perspectives and stuff like this. So And then luckily I ended up in this visualization company, and then I realized, okay, that's is where you've belonged all the way. So and that was
but I think that makes sense, and I hear a lot of people talk about that as well. You know, the fascination with video games, and I mean, honestly, most of the people in doing this job that we do. I mean, I'm on the upper end of it in terms of age. I'm 44 years old, so but most people who I talk to, they had this fascination with video games as well. Which I don't hear, like architects I talk to, they didn't always have this fascination. And somehow I think that's how you get into like the space making, like you're talking about, and the computer part. Because if you're interested in video games back then, you know, when I was a kid, for instance, you kind of had to like computers, because it wasn't like just plugging into PlayStation and turning it on and going. It was like floppy disk in the drive, and like trying to so somehow it makes sense a little bit that this comes together, you know.
Somehow it's still like this. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. I never really considered myself a technical person, but when I think about what I have to do with computers and stuff, okay, maybe I am. I don't know. I guess
you get around. So If when I started my company, I just had my workstation, and now it all developed, and now I'm getting an expert on network technologies and server management stuff, which I've never. Okay, that wasn't planned, but it comes along with it. So
I wanted to go back for a second. Now, before we were talking about your process in the office, and you said, a lot about you have to be fast and so on, and about the, person taking a long time to do texturing and so on. So I guess that means you're doing a lot of stuff in Photoshop.
Yeah.
How much would you say?
It's like, I would say, it's it really depends on the project.
Okay.
But I would say like 50%.
Okay, because it's fun.
Because it's the fastest way to do any changes. We have a very good workflow, and we also it's all really optimized to do competitions. So our render times are not that long, and our renders, we cannot send the client our raw renders because they look totally different. Well, you know that if you do a lot of matte painting and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So, and that's also there's the most things are happening in Photoshop, and I really like what I like about it is you have a more direct influence on the output. So if you're not rendering grass, you don't know how it looks until it's done. And if you what happened now? Still okay.
Yeah, we're leaving that in.
Yeah, that's good. It's authentic. I don't know what.
Yeah, but anyway, I think that this is the reason I wanted to make a comment about it is that these days it's moving in the other direction, right? Like since the last 3 or 4 years, as things got to be easier for to render, like computer, like tech. The computers are more powerful. You can just do things you couldn't do before. In a shorter time, you could do it. It just took you a really long time. But now that's kind of gone. And the reality is you can actually do a lot of stuff in 3D. It means a lot of setup on the front end to get that quality, But then once you have it, you can go back in there and make a bunch of other images very fast. Now, I realize you're not concerned with that because you're doing competitions, right? So
I think we are not looking for realism in our images. It's not about realism. It's about narratives or about emotions. And well, I think there are so many. I really like these abstract artists images, like where you just have a few lines and a few textures, but you can tell a big story, or you can focus on the things that are really important, like also like concept art or stuff like this. If you look at concept art closely, it's all just not really defined. No details. It's just some blotches, and but if you look from far away, it looks beautiful. And this is I think it's some kind of haptics, like
Yeah.
that gives you this feeling. And we don't need all details to tell our stories we got for these buildings, and I think it's not necessary.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
That's also the point where we communicate a lot with the client. We need to look to his glasses, the way how he's seeing his building, and then we need to put this into the image, and then really focus. It's not important if there are lampposts or if there are like the path in the front is really defined or stuff like this.
I understand. It's a lot more abstract in terms of what you need to produce.
Yeah.
So I want to move on a little bit and ask you another question, which I think is completely related to the fact that you are crazy enough to do 90% of your work for competitions. And that is that, this kind of stuff is very stressful. I know it from doing it myself. What do you do there to, help keep yourself sane, like and focus mentally, that you don't have some burnout, because this can be very trying, these jobs.
Yeah.
And not just you, but in the office. Like, how do you guys manage that?
Well, actually, I think there's always a motivation. If you get this, when I hand out new projects also to my colleagues, then we say, oh, that's cool, that's a great idea. Let's make this the best image ever. So they always it's a motivation comes with the project itself somehow, because they're excited to do the next best image. And afterwards, we get really good feedback from our clients. So, and they're really happy because we try to get the stress away from them, because they are in a hurry. They have to do their plans. They are really stressed, and that's where we step in and said, okay, we care about the images. You don't have to care about it. And if that's also, we call them instantly, so that they are not wondering, did they get the files? I have to call them. I have to ask when the first draft will be ready, or the first point or whatever. So we call them and we say, okay, you get it then, and relax, it will be done. And so they are relaxed and they know that, and they are really happy if they are 2 days before they get the first image, and they're really, great, and they can put it in the layout, and it's always I feel the tension is going down, and they're totally thankful, and that's rewarding as well.
Yeah, no, that is good. To complete a job where the architect's stressed out because he thinks it's not going to be able to be done, to come to follow through on that and actually give them something good. Yeah, they're usually quite happy with that. Yeah, it is a good way, and it's a good way to strengthen the client bonds, with the relationship you have with the person, because then they trust you. It makes it easier the next time.
And it's very important that they trust you, and that the communication is fluent, and they can really rely, because they see you also as a part of the team, and they see we have the same goal to make this the best building ever.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, you said that all of your people on your staff are architects. So they studied architecture. They may or may not have worked as an architect. Some of them, or have some of them worked as architects.
Some didn't. So
okay, but they studied architecture.
They studied. We also have one employee worked as an architect, doing like construction stuff, and so really in the field.
Interesting.
And And yeah, he was working in the same we have here architectural office from my father-in-law. It's the same house, so
Okay.
he always saw what we are doing, and we said, okay, I have to switch. So
he's like, I
we
like
switched
that
internally. Yeah,
that's
that was
good.
fun. Great.
That's cool though. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, I want to continue by saying that I guess that's something you're looking for when you're hiring people in your office.
Like that they're architects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you're
I
doing
think
so much directly with architects, it makes sense.
yeah, right. Because I think it's easier for them to understand how architects feel and work and see the world. Because yeah, like when I get portfolios from people coming from the 3D industry, it's always, well, the quality is always awesome, but there's something missing, like something photographic about the compositions or stuff like this, or like how you would display a building. I think it's you can learn 3D pretty fast, I guess. Like software, you can learn it pretty fast, and but to understand architecture, I think you have to study. It's a long time.
Yeah, but I actually find it interesting because I think this is my personal experience, but I know I've also seen how they're, how it's working in Austria, that I would almost argue that you would really need to work in an architect's office for a couple of years to really see how it's working. Because
Yeah.
I remember coming out of architecture school and I was like, oh, I know what the job is. And I went and started working and I was like, oh my God, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's
Most of the job.
Yeah.
However, of course, the part that you're working on, the competition part, is more like the school part, to be honest, because it's usually fast and you have to get things done. You don't have like a unlimited time to work on something, so maybe it still works. I was just thinking of it because I just remember the disconnect for me between what the job was and what I studied. And I think it's also why I'm doing now what I'm doing too, because I didn't like it. Like I didn't actually like working as an architect.
Yeah, but you like to study architecture.
Architecture school was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, and that's what I want to keep here. Like here in the office, it's the same spirit we had in architecture school. Like we're within the team, so it's fun to work together. We're going together to the pub or stuff like this. So it's very, very, very like we had in architecture school.
Yeah.
So it's important for my colleagues as well, because they spend so much time here, and they even have to spend some longer nights here if we cannot what is it? If we cannot, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not that often as you may think, because because of the communication, we can somehow drive it, that we don't have to spend very long nights. But if you spend so much time here, you need to feel a little bit like, not like home, but you need to feel comfortable. And I couldn't imagine doing this job like a 9-to-5 job regularly.
It's just part of it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I have other questions here, but I actually like this topic a lot. And so I would like to ask you something that maybe could help out other people when they are having the same problem or working with architects. What are your strategies to make it more efficient when working with the architect? Because the reason I'm asking this is, you just said, you don't actually have to stay late that often. And I know that's the reason is because the way that you do the communication. Because if you communicate to the architect, look, we have to have this thing this time so we can get it done on this time, then things run smoothly. If they keep putting things off. So what are your strategies here for working with architects in this situation?
Well, the most important thing I always tell them, if you send the files late, you don't have that much influence on the result. Well, I always tell them, you get an image, but maybe it will be 5 minutes before you have to print. So, and they always say, oh no, we want to look at it first, and we do rounds of corrections and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And if you tell them, okay, if you waste time, you don't have that much of influence on this image, and that helps. That helps some. And then we are if they are, well, it happens a lot that they are not ready, and it's fine, because it's okay. Well, we know that it works like this, and we are planning accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But then usually we take 2 weeks. Most of that's what's set in our offer. But most of the architects just have 1 week or something to get these things ready. But then we start with doing viewports, viewpoints just based on volumes or stuff like this. So we have this figured out, and if they send us the final files,
I understand.
we can work fluently. And we don't send like clay renders. We don't send light tests. We don't send drafts.
Okay.
We just ask them to do what they want to see. So they say, okay, we are standing on the street and looking that direction, and then we know, okay, they are focusing on the entrance. They want to see the side of the building. So we get a lot of information out of that. And then we are doing several viewpoints just in wireframe, and they can decide. And after that, after they decided to do one viewpoint, that is finalized. So it will be that viewpoint. It's not possible to change it. It could be possible, but then image may get crappy, or it's too late, or whatever.
You can shift it a little to the left or right, but you can't actually change it.
Yeah. But after they decided, we started to work towards the final image. And
Then it's too late.
Yeah. And then all the things are in. We ask them in the briefing in the front if there's any mood they are looking for, or any like daylight situation or whatever, if they have any special. If they don't, we are completely free, and we just make a suggestion. And then the last thing they saw is this wireframe, and then they get a 4K fully complete image with everything,
which has been post-produced already.
Post-produced, right. And on that basis, we are making corrections, because it's if they have too many choices, if you send like clay renders with light, they are thinking about, should the light be something different and stuff like this, because they just see the light and nothing else. But if you have the complete image, you can way better judge things, because it's not their fault, because they don't know the workflow. If I see a clay render, I can more imagine the final output better, like they do it. So we try to. It sounds a bit rude, but we try to take as much control away from them to give them more control in the end.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that can happen is, like, we are doing a night image and they say, "Oh no, we want a day image." Well, we try to figure it out before in the first briefing, but that would be the greatest difference between things. But this happens like almost never.
Okay, so I think the main important strategy there that you touched on was to put a little fear into them that they might not have some control over the image if they start too late.
Yeah, but it is like that.
It's a good point. It's a good point, and actually, it's like it actually gets back to things a lot of people say about, not just in our industry, like in general, about how to deal with clients. You have to make them. You have to see it from their point of view. Like, what do they want to do? And if you tell them they're not going to be able to get corrections or see the thing before right at the end, that scares them, and they say, okay, wait, you're right. We're gonna make sure that we'll get it to you because it's actually for them, and that from their side that's important.
Yeah.
So
Well,
this is a good way to go about it.
Yeah, then they know they'll get a nice image in the end, even though if they don't have any influence on the image, if they were late. But what I don't like is this client bashing. People say, "Oh, clients." It's all you always hear. It's like on D2, they always say, "Oh, the stupid client changed something or whatever."
Yeah, I actually don't like that either.
The clients are clients. It's just they pay for these images. So
yeah, honestly, for me, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, but if you see it from their perspective, I think you can somehow relate to some of their points, and they don't have the knowledge you have if you're doing these images, like we're saying these clay no, not clay, these wireframe renders we're sending.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are pink walls and like crazy colors. The sky is black or gray or whatever. It's totally obvious that it's just for compositional purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And we sometimes get from the client, okay, but can we change the walls to white, maybe? And we say, okay, but if you see that the clients don't know the workflow, so you have to keep that in mind always, and be a little more patient with your clients.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I actually think that's true about what people say about clients. I honestly don't like this either, that people say things or complain about clients, because in the end, if you really are unhappy with working with that person because they do stupid things all the time, then stop working for them. I know it sounds simple, but in the end, it'll save you so much problems, and stress for yourself. And so there's no reason to really complain about it. It's like, do you want the money from that person? And will you or not? And that's you have to make the decision.
It's always the case that if stuff like this happens, you fail to communicate some things at the start of the project. If you're asking, like the example I said before, if you're asking, do you want a daylight, or what mood should we do, and we write it down, and you write it back. Okay, we said we do daylight. We make one image. Blah 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 blah. You write it to him. He wouldn't change it afterwards. I have to say we have great clients. So
That's good.
Our clients. Sometimes it's like they're coming up with ideas that make our images even better, and it's a very productive way of working together, because they know they're building their design the best. And if you work together as a team, it can just be good.
We actually got carried away on this conversation, but I really like it because it's I think it has specifically to do with what you guys are doing there. So it's more important to me to talk about that than to talk about just some random questions.
Do you want to know what software we use? Or
actually, I wanted to talk about it, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter in the end. I know it matters to, personally, to the person who's using it. It does to me. Like, I like using the software I use, but but in the end, I'm not sure that it really matters.
It's more important the person behind the screen. That's the artist, not the computer. So that's why we all doing so many things in Photoshop, because it's more individual. Or if you just put assets into a scene and render it out, it's so. I think it's more important, and I think tools are just tools. So
I mean, I know you guys use Cinema, right? Yeah. Is that correct? Yeah, because because I'm also using it, and I always keeping track of who's using it and not. There are, I think, younger people who are interested in ArchViz watching our videos. Is there any tips you could say about if you wanted to get into the ArchViz industry? Is there anything you could offer?
Well, I think the most important thing is to develop an eye for images, and it doesn't necessarily has to do with computers. It might. I think it's very, very important to do photography.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very important thing, I guess, and also other things like if you started looking for images, you will find it everywhere. You will look at cinema movies more differently than you've looked at them before, and you you can train your software skills in a pretty fast way, but you cannot train your eye that fast, and you need to start developing your eye very, very early. The composition of an image is more important, like any shader or effect or whatever. If the composition is strong, it will be a great image. So
yeah, and that gets back to the idea that it's software agnostic in a way, because it actually you can do this if you understand like how that's supposed to work, then you can do it with any software. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That's
you don't know what will happen in 2 years. Maybe there will be a software we all need to use because it's the best software, and it's something completely different. It's more, and that's the thing that I think is really good about our job. There's sometimes this fear that the computers will take over and you will do everything. The computer will do all the image things, but it's such a creative process that you always need a person to imagine that. So
yeah, right.
I think that's a great thing.
And I mean, I just want to add right at the end of that I do think as well that knowing a tool is definitely important.
Yeah,
you still have to use the thing, but we're talking about, of course, just what's the end result, and that's an important aspect to keep in mind.
Knowing a tool better just saves you more time. So you can come to the same result, but it takes you longer if you just know basic stuff. But if you have the image in your mind already done, you will get there, and maybe it just takes you longer.
Yeah, I guess the reason I'm saying it is if there is someone out there watching who wants to know, what they should do, that while this is the most important thing, in my opinion, about knowing how to create compositions and correctly, to have this end result, that you still should learn a tool because you can, but the point is that you can pick it, like you don't have to, we're not going to say you should use that one or that one, but you should pick something and learn it, because you will still need to be able to make that image at the end.
Yeah. And well, you could use MS Paint, I guess. It's
yeah, exactly.
Would maybe, I guess some people can do great images with MS Paint.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so I want to wrap this up now. Jost, I really appreciate you talking to me today, and I'm sure everyone's looking forward to watching it. And so I'm going to sign off now. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Have a nice day. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.